up, what up, what up, what up? What up, family? Appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate you tapping in. Welcome back to Flesh of the Gods. And today, we're going to cover some of this ASAP Rocky trial. Won't be a long one today, only be here for a couple hours, but we might as well get into it. Appreciate y'all being here, family. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Much love. Watch the trial, Leos be capping, chatting action, come and tap in the most interactive. I am the flesh. New track coming tonight, by the way. I am the God. I am the flesh.
Each exhibits characteristics typical of aftermarket slides or a series of subcompact pistol frames, including but not limited to Polymer model PF9SS, Glock store model SS.
Wait, slow down because the court reporter needs to take you.
Sure. Polymer 80 model PF9SS, Glock store model SS80, and Glock model 43 and 43X. We have been given information that, in fact, oftentimes and frequently when you're looking at casing, you're not able to get a whole lot of information. But it turns out that the markings on these casings are a bit more unique, and they are not only consistent, but the examiner will testify that the markings he has seen very rarely, and that where he has seen them, where they've been recorded, are with a Glock 43 pistol.
What's the name of the examiner who did this ballistic comparison? Or ballistic
The examiner's
examiners?
first name is going to be FIDAL, last name P.
What up, what up? Appreciate y'all coming in. Chloe Hours Revenge, what up, what up? Ty GQ, what up? Late Night Bacon with Mookie. There he go, there go ASAP. There he go, starting his first day, opening statement to trial.
D-I-R-A, I-M-A-H.
D-I-R-A.
I-M-A-H. So the way this came about was, we were looking at a different issue. The detectives yesterday afternoon sent an email to my co-counsel basically saying, hey, take a look at that report, this report that we're talking about.
Who's detective?
In the attachment.
Detective Flores.
Flores?
Flores.
From Robbery Homicide?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So when this was received, my co-counsel looks and says, I've never seen this report. So he goes back in discovery, looks at emails. We don't have the report. So we instantly contact the defense, send them out the report. I want to be clear. The report is inculpatory, not exculpatory. So obviously, not only do we have no motivation to have not turned over this report, RHD has no motivation either. What's very clear is that they believe they had turned it over, and they did it.
What time did Detective Flores bring this to either your attention or Mr. Fuzoni's?
Yesterday afternoon, you want the exact time?
Approximately.
It was yesterday afternoon. We were in court. We went back to the office after court yesterday, and that's where we went back and looked to see, do we have this discovery?
So something after 4:30 p.m.?
The email is timestamped 3:18, but I got it when we, so it was essentially received but not gone through yet until I could get back over to my desk.
You conveyed this to the defense when?
We sent it to them at 5:21.
So about 40 minutes later, thereabouts?
Because the first thing we had to do was, we had to go back and see, have we already turned this over? So we not only emailed it, we called them. We explained the situation. The response at the time that we gave it to them initially was, well, this is the same thing that you have accused us with respect to the witness and the court's finding that they violated court's discovery order. And we responded, no, this is completely different. You had interviews starting last August.
I don't want to get into who said what. I just want to know the sequence of events.
So at this point in time, we had a discussion. We sent an email at that point to counsel, and we included the court. There was an email sent late last night, at some point, by Mr. Tacopina. I did not see it until somewhere around 2 in the morning. In that email, Mr. Tacopina cited the Hughes case. There were no facts in the Hughes case. I went to the middle of the night, I got the case, I read it.
I don't want to know about it. This would be appropriate if you want to argue your position. I just wanted to know the sequence of events.
Right, I'm not going to go any further other than to tell the court. I read the case, I then sent an email at roughly 3 or 4 in the morning. I sent it to counsel, and I sent it to the court.
All right.
Can I have just one last factor on it, which is, I knew from past experience with firearm analysis that there would be a lab file or bench notes associated with the analysis. So I tried to immediately contact the lab to expedite and see if they could send that to me immediately, but they were not open at the time that I called. So we had to call this morning at around 6, and they scanned it and sent it over, and I sent that to the defense as soon as I got it.
How many pages?
Shout out to y'all. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on your way in. What up, Shay? I see you. Bo said you doing the Miles Davis entry to the party. You already know, family. Y'all hit the like, hit the subscribe on your way in. Let's get into it. We getting this Rocky trial started up. Hopefully y'all can hear it good. Let me know if everything all right, but let's keep it rolling, family.
Pages is this?
The report is one
The
page.
report itself is
It's
one page.
page. How many pages are there total of all the police reports, all of the discovery in this book? How many pages?
Regarding this one,
Regarding the total number of,
regarding this one.
No, I was.
no, the total number of pages involving this case and this investigation.
I would estimate 100 or over 100 pages. I mean, to be totally candid with the court, I haven't counted them, but that's just ballparking the various reports and things that we've received.
All right, I understand now the sequence of events. All right, who wants to speak to the defense?
I think, I'll start. Maybe Mr. Siegel, if I can leave something out, if we tackle this together. I mean, we spent literally the night before opening this, about 5 hours.
Okay. Speak slowly. The reporter needs to get everything down, and I want everybody to know exactly what you have to say. Go ahead.
So, and I'll just stick with sort of the chronological order here. I'm not going to argue case law or anything like that, but aside from the fact that we lost 4 to 5 hours the night before opening dealing with this, we this morning, after we get an expert report last night that was in the possession.
There go Tony Soprano, the gangster lawyer right there. You know he ain't taking no ish. Shout out to Tony Soprano.
Of the lead case detective in this case, not some random police officer. Detective Flores is the case detective in this case. I have to believe he understood the importance of that report. He testified at preliminary hearing. After we get that report that says, in conclusion, that the subcompact pistol frames, including but not limited to, which means absolutely nothing. So it could be a universe that we don't even understand of other pistols, and then goes on to list 3 of them here. This morning, we got another 28 pages of backup data on this. Backup lab, I guess, report that normally comes with a conclusion report. We got this morning. And I find it hard to believe that the lead detective in this case didn't bring it to anyone's attention from the district attorney's office until after a jury was impaneled the night before opening statements. I mean, something that they now are saying is such a crucial piece of evidence. We have an issue now with the jury, obviously it's a jury panel. It may affect, quite frankly, whether we would have kept or not kept a few jurors, one in particular. Now, we assured him yesterday he'd have a fair trial. You're going to have a fair trial. We've made issues regarding the veneer. You know that, I'm not going to rehash that. We're here. We're ready to open today. I don't even know how we're supposed to do this. This should be suppressed without question because it changes the complexity of the case. At the very least, we have to quash this panel and start again, or strike jurors and reselect. I mean, I think even the district attorney said, okay, well, continuance is appropriate. We pick the jury. We're ready to go. This is something that, to render fair and effective representation here, as we all assured Mr. Mayor we would have, in the midst of a trial that's already underway, we would need to locate and retain our own expert to conduct a scientific analysis. Their report was 28 pages. It took them, according to them, 1 week to do this. 1 week. And that's their own lab, with their own on-staff experts. And it took them a week. How long is it going to take us? We have to go find somebody first, hope he's available, the trial will be over. We also have to make arrangements for the physical examination of the casings, scientific testing. I mean, if you look at their report, they cite some of the basis for their findings is of the internet. They went on and cited all these websites and forums. I mean, there is so much work to be done here to even understand this conclusion.
All right, so what do you think?
What am I seeking?
What are you asking for?
Your Honor, I'm asking, well, and our letters laid it out. I don't need to rehash it, but our letters laid it out pretty clearly what we're asking for. There's no way to proceed in this case if this is admitted. We have to either strike this whole panel. We need a continuance. We have to start again. What I'm asking for is you conclude this. This is after the jurors and panel. This is a major piece of evidence that will require us to do a lot of expert work that took them, their own department, a week to do. That's the only thing I'm requesting. Short of that, Your Honor, I can't even open if this is coming in because I have to deal with the address. I don't even understand it. And it's on the way to court, we have 28 pages of backup data. So that's what I'm requesting. I'm requesting this to be concluded. It's after the juries and panel here. Seal just pointed out, there's also a balancing argument under 352, which I think is also something that's relevant here, including not limited to. But we have this whole. I don't even know what to say here, Your Honor. I really don't. I want to make sure he gets a fair trial. He's here. We're ready to go. We all assured him he'd get a fair trial, and this is. I've never seen anything like this. I'm not going to talk about the other witnesses, the late Brady disclosures, or the witness we got the name of for the first time last night. I'm not whining about that. I know that's what they want to keep doing. We both have had issues with that. That's fine. I will not make an issue of it anymore. You've already moved on that. Period. End of story. This is now a new one. I don't want to get into I told you so, but many people said to me this morning, I told you so, that this was going to happen. And I'm trying to keep my composure, Your Honor. I don't know if I've ever been this upset in a courtroom in my whole career, both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I have to be honest with you. This is not right. It's not fair to him.
Hold on. Yeah, Mr. Siegel, do you want to?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say about
I don't want you to repeat what Mr. Tackleton said. Do you want to add something new?
No, yeah, you're welcome to it. I want to add something new. So I dovetail what he said with respect to the 352 arguments, and that is the report says that the characteristics included are not limited to certain firearms. That means the universe of firearms in this case, based on the face of that report, is extensively broad. So given that, Your Honor, I think even just the probative value of this is substantially outweighed by the danger of undue prejudice.
Real quick, let me give a quick shout out to Purple Paradox. Asked me for a favor and I said I would do it, so here we go. Y'all, if you want to go help Purple Paradox, she having some things that she needs some help with. Here's the link to the GoFundMe. She's trying to save her childhood home and trying not to become homeless. So for those who know Purple Paradox, she's been around here with us for a minute. If you want to show her some love, take a screenshot of that and go ahead and go to that link and help her out. Appreciate y'all, family.
Separate and apart from the late disclosure, so it should be excluded on 352. But that's secondary to the fact that it's just incredibly late at this stage for all the reasons technically said. So I'm just adding an additional factor.
All right, what I'm hearing from you then, it seems like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth with the defenses. Like it's irrelevant. However, it's so prejudicial that it shouldn't be allowed in. It's so inculpatory that it shouldn't be allowed in.
No, I don't think anyone said it's so inculpatory. You don't understand. Saying it's inculpatory is not accurate. I didn't say it's inculpatory, he didn't say it. What he said was it's a balancing test because it says including but not limited to. All that simply means is not that it's not inculpatory, not that we just don't understand what this means. Not limited to means there's a universe of guns that have to be tested now. I don't know what not limited to means. So how many pistols does not limited to include? How many firearms does not limited to include? That's what it means.
Okay, who wants to speak to the people? Go ahead, Mr. Rowe.
I want to take these one step at a time. Council brought up and made a comparison to what has happened thus far.
Alex, could you please go out and tell the jurors that we're dealing with some logistical matters, and just to please be patient, and we're going to have them come in as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
One, as the court is aware, there is no logical reason why either Robert Hamadai's petition or the DA's office would in any way not turn this over. It's very clear that this evidence only helps our case. Although again, as the court pointed out, on the one hand, Mr. Tapia says, the client cannot get a fair trial. This is so apparently damaging. Yet on the other hand, he says, hey, it doesn't really matter because it includes so many other guns that it should be kept out as being irrelevant. But what's very clear is, and I didn't appreciate the comment, when Mr. Takapina suggests that he can't believe that the DA's office did not know about this in advance, when I spoke to him on the phone last night, that is not what I heard. What I heard was, hey, listen, this is a problem for us. We understand, I'm going to quote Mr. Siegel, there's no reason why you would have not turned this over if you hadn't, which is correct, and the record would support it. Comparing this, counsel is now discussing and saying how they are being victimized by late discovery. The only late discovery in this case, and the court's aware of it, the court ordered that the discovery be turned over on 2 witnesses. It should have been turned over before the court ordered it.
I don't want to deal with something that we've already dealt with.
Okay.
I understand about the 2 defense witnesses.
Okay.
We've covered that.
Right.
Just deal with the present issue.
So, what counsel did is, he cited last night, he sent to the court a case called Hughes, 2020 case, 50 cal at 5th at 257. He included no facts about that case. At 2 in the morning, I went and I read the case, and I then sent an email. That case, so the record is clear, involved a situation where there was a Watson murder and where the defendant was being tried on a theory that his alcohol intoxication had caused the accident. Investigation had been done by the MATE team, and they had determined that in fact it was speed and not alcohol. This was a very huge problem for the prosecution because that was the theory of their case. Team started redoing a separate investigation, which the evidence suggests the prosecutor was well aware of. At the very least, and as the Court of Appeals said, the prosecutor was given information that in fact the MATE lead detective now had a new opinion contradicting the prior opinion that in fact, in actuality, it was caused by alcohol and not by speed. Instead of turning this over to the defense, the prosecutor literally had the witness on the stand in front of the jury.
Had the witness on the stand in front of the jury. Shout out to No One real quick. He said he didn't know I was live over there typing and I'm over here. Yeah, man, I had to switch it up real quick and hop on my own train real quick. But appreciate you joining me, and No One got a fire track dropping this evening. As soon as I finish this live, we're going to release it at 5:30 PST. We moved it up a little early, so it's going to be dropping today. Y'all make sure y'all go check that out. Appreciate you, family. Give you a little sample real quick. Let me see. Oh, no, that ain't it. Appreciate y'all being here, though, family. Never mind. I'll put it up in a minute. But, yeah, let's get back into it.
He then pauses, looks over at the fence and says, hey, by the way, here's the diagrams and here's the information that he's going to be testifying to. Defense is obviously horrified because it's the entire case.
By the way, what up, FFS in the building? I see you, family. Appreciate you.
Defense asked for a mistrial. They asked for a continuance. They were both overruled. The Court of Appeals said, hey, listen, obviously the suppression of evidence, as the court is aware, and under the statute, is the last option a court can utilize, only after every other option has been determined to be not harsh enough or not accurate enough in addressing and solving the situation. The Court of Appeals said, hey, listen, Judge, you had a chance to do less remedy. You didn't do it. The jury ended up convicting, and the case was reversed. To compare that case to the facts of this case, it is distinguishable for the following. Number one, that evidence was not just inculpatory, it was the entire case. Number two, the prosecutor, for a tactical advantage, which the Court of Appeal basically said in a footnote, that although the original trial judge had found no prosecutorial misconduct, that in essence the record didn't support it, meaning that there was misconduct that the prosecutor knew. The prosecutor...
Let me ask, why is there always a case of prosecutorial misconduct? Who are they picking to be these prosecutors? It's always some prosecutorial misconduct or some malicious prosecution. They always on one. What up, Real Talk with Retta? I see you, family. Nameless in the building. What up, though? I see you. Appreciate you. My bad I left you out. I see you, family. But yeah, that's crazy. The prosecutorial misconduct is all over every case.
Decided for a tactical advantage that he was not going to turn it over. He then did it while the witness was on the stand. He then opposed any continuance or mistrial. Here's what we have. We have evidence, which it is inculpatory. It's inculpatory because the defendant is found at his location, at his house. There is a 9mm magazine for a Glock 43, and there's no Glock 43 to go with it. So it's just a magazine. We already knew that the defendant had the Glock 43 magazine, and we knew that these were 9mm casings. The difference now is that there's going to be evidence that suggests that a Glock 43 is more likely to have put the marks on the expended casings than many other firearms. So the idea that this would be excluded under 352 is patently absurd. The idea that Hughes is in any way authority for what they're asking is also absurd. We talked to the lab this morning. First, what we are proposing is that we will not mention this evidence in this case in opening. We will wait and see how the case develops. As the court is aware, and the court is aware of this from the discovery of the witnesses that we got the day before we started trial. The defense is now claiming not only that it was a starter pistol, but they are claiming that the 9mm magazine, which was found at the defendant's residence, actually belonged to the defendant's manager. and that he is going to testify. So let's look at how this plays out. If the defense ends up being that, in fact, this 9mm magazine belongs to the manager, that in fact what was used at the scene was a starter pistol / prop gun, then although we don't
That's gonna be a problem. That starter pistol.
believe that's credible evidence, that is where they're going. So here's what we're asking. One, there's no late discovery instruction, because as the court is aware, and maybe counsel is not, to have a late discovery instruction, the court has to find that we had the information and didn't turn it over. There's no reason why we wouldn't turn it over, and as soon as we had it, we turned it over. And as the court's aware, I've been trying cases in front of His Honor for going on 30 years. As soon as we found this evidence, we contacted the court and we contacted counsel. Number two, the lab has told us that basically what they did in this case, to have someone else examine it is a very quick examination. And the amount of time that it should take for someone to examine it and end up being able to assess whether or not LAPD was accurate in what they found is ranging from a few hours to maybe a day. This is what we would propose. We would propose that at this point in time, we will not mention this in opening statement. We will see how the case develops. We will, if we believe that this is evidence that is going to be important, we will ask to admit that evidence later on in the trial. In the meantime, we will make arrangements for counsel, and they can hire any qualified firearms expert. I want to distinguish between Hughes and this case. Hughes was an extremely complicated accident reconstruction involving a vehicle where multiple individuals died. It was very time consuming. It's an extremely complex investigation. This is very minor and simple ballistics interpretation. So we will make it available. We already have sent our investigators to recover the evidence. I don't know if they already have it. We believe they already have the evidence. They have it with them, and we will get it to the defense. This is related to the other issue, so I just want to make sure that this is clear. Counsel seems to be under the impression that the court has now changed its ruling and that we are not allowed in our opening statement to address the idea, which the court previously ruled we could, that we did not find out about this defense until the 20th. The court had said previously, on the record, yes, Mr. Lewin, you guys can address that issue in opening. I will decide whether I'm going to issue a discovery instruction later. Counsel believes you've now said we can't do that.
I did say that.
Yesterday, yeah, pretty
I did.
clearly.
I had said yesterday that the purpose for an opening statement is to give the jury an idea of what the evidence, what you believe the evidence will show. Talking about late discovery, that's argument. So as far as your opening statement, I don't want you to mention anything about you just found out about a starter pistol. That is not part of what the evidence will disclose. I talked about that yesterday.
So but I am correct. The court's original ruling was.
Yeah, that is what I said. Originally, I said, yes, you can bring it up.
Okay.
But then after thinking about it, that's not part of an opening statement. So I don't want you touching it.
Okay,
Go on with.
Yeah, no one. He rejected a plea for 180 days in jail and 7 years suspended sentence. Yeah, he did that because his lawyer was saying, like, basically the evidence they got is gonna make the prosecution look stupid. Like, you could tell it's a false claim, and we saw his knuckles the other day, so he'd be better off taking it to trial. And they was trying to fight hard for that plea yesterday. Appreciate you, family. Shout out to Noah.
With the present issue about the ballistic.
So where we sit right now is that counsel is arguing two inconsistent positions. They're arguing that this evidence is so damaging that we have to start over. Now, that's not in a vacuum. It's very clear that the defense is not happy with this jury. They made it clear.
Oh, hold on.
No, don't
Oh,
interrupt.
okay.
He didn't interrupt you, don't interrupt him.
It is
Go
very
ahead.
clear by the comments the defense has made in court, where they have repeatedly said that their client.
Okay, hold on. We see that the judge get a little bass in his voice, huh? Okay, this might get interesting. He was kind of calm, and then he just jumped up to level 10 real quick. Okay.
Is not getting a fair trial because of what they believe is the composition of the jury, the fact that they have filed a writ, the fact that they have continued to bring this up, leads to the inescapable conclusion that what they are looking for is a way to start over. I believe, Your Honor, that what we have proposed is more than fair, because in the end, Your Honor, they're arguing it both ways. As the court mentioned before I ever pointed out, they're arguing, if you let this in, Judge, my client can't get a fair trial. Oh, by the way, what's the value of this anyway? What does it matter? Again, my position would be the second argument is inaccurate. It is evidence that is helpful to our case. It doesn't prove the case by itself, but it is definitely helpful. It is not irrelevant. It's not 352.
All right, you don't have to go on.
Okay.
I believe I have enough information to make a decision.
All right, be heard, please. On
No,
the-
no, you can't.
I can't respond to what he just said about the jury.
It doesn't matter about what he said about the jury. That has
No, it
no,
doesn't.
stop.
Come on.
That has no bearing on any decision I'm going to make.
There's a record, though. There was a record. Can I place something?
I don't believe that you are unhappy with the jury.
I'm
Mr.
not.
Lewin might say you're unhappy with the jury, but that's not, I don't believe you are. If you were, you wouldn't have accepted the jury. I believe that both sides are satisfied that with this jury and that both sides will get a fair trial. You don't need to respond to it because it doesn't matter whether he does or does not think you're happy with the jury. I believe that you are satisfied with the jury. All right, here's the way I want to deal with the latest, recently finding out about this ballistic report. Everybody at the table, all counsel, to me, has great credibility. I accept what all of you say. I don't believe that there's been any nefarious conduct by anybody. If this late report involved, all of a sudden, it was disclosed that a witness, an additional witness positively identified Mr. Mayers as the shooter, that would be very critical and crucial. If a witness came forward and said, yeah, Mr. Mayers confessed to me that he shot ASAP relative, that would be very critical and crucial. If a firearm, if a 9mm was recovered, that could be ballistically compared to the casings, and that just became discoverable or became disclosed, I think that would be critical. But that is not what happened here. What I'm seeing here is that the casings that were recovered were examined, and the opinion is they could have been fired from a Glock 43 or any other number of types of 9mm.
Facts, late night. He said he fell running and skinned his knuckles. That's a fact. We saw the pictures. And yeah, no one, I saw the video. That video grainy and you can't see nobody. Can't tell what nothing is. Can't tell nothing about that. Laugh Always Have Fun said, wait, we live at 4 p.m.? Yep, you know, we're switching it up a little bit. What up, family? Appreciate you joining.
You have said that, well, now you have to hire, you want to hire a ballistic expert. That's not fair to you and your client. So this is what I am proposing. We have a list, a Superior Court list of firearm examiners that have been recognized as experts. My star judicial assistant over there, Alice, will print out that list. Ms. Kaplan is an attorney who practices in this area. If there is someone on the list that you want to hire, contact that person and tell them this is crucial that the ballistic evidence be examined now, not later, but now. The court will pay for it. Mr. Mayers will not have to pay for this. We will. If the firearms examiner wants extra money because it's a rush, the court will pay for it. If you are not satisfied with the people on the list, then if you want to find your own examiner who will do the examination, the court will pay for it. If it's necessary that I speak to the examiner to impress upon the examiner the importance of getting this done ASAP, I'm glad to do that. I am providing my cell phone number to all of you. If you need to call me any time of the day or night, I will speak to you. I will speak to a firearms examiner. If you feel it is necessary, Mr. Tacopina, we can be dark on Monday. But I'm not excluding the evidence. I don't find that there is any nefarious conduct. The evidence is relevant. It's not a smoking gun, but it is somewhat inculpatory. But in and of itself does not mean that your client is guilty. That's the way we're going to deal with this, and that's the final ruling. I don't want to hear anything more about it. That's the end of the issue for now. Are both sides ready for the jury to come in? Do not mention anything about the ballistic comparison in the opening statement.
That was our question.
So,
Yeah, do not mention that.
Understood.
Your Honor, what I was planning on mentioning was that the cartridges found at scene were 9mm. In the defendant's house was a magazine that was 9mm.
All right.
And had some 9mm live ammunition in it. That was it.
If that has been part of the discovery and that was known, then that's fair game.
Yes.
But this ballistic comparison, that's off limits for the opening statement.
Yes.
Understood.
All right, bring the jury.
So bring the jury on our principal list for the.
Oh, yeah, do you want that to Ms. Kaplan, the list of the firearms examiners?
I could also email it, that's because your presence.
Just print it. Yes, sir. Once the open.
What up, fam? Purple Paradox said those knuckles look more like he got in a fight, like a fight than a graze. Wait, more like a fight than a graze. Yeah, more like a fist fight rather than a graze from a bullet. Yeah, that's a fact. Okay, I see you. No one said skint his knuckle putting on some skinny jeans. Hell no. Ali said, what up, y'all? Happy Friday, fam. Flesh of the gods. I see you, Ali. What's good, family? Appreciate you joining.
Opening statements are over, and we begin with the testimony. If you are a note taker, that would be the time to start taking notes. Mr. Prislovic, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to start off by, on behalf of myself, Mr. Lewin, I'm sure on behalf of the defense too, and all the court staff, we all want to thank you so far for the time, attention, and candor that you gave to us during jury selection. We all understand that was a long process, and we appreciate your attention. After going through that long process, I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, this must be a difficult case, or this must be a really complicated case. And to be fair to you, if I was sitting in your position and I looked out on the number of jurors that we started with, or even the number of attorneys that are up here, I probably have the same thought myself. But what the evidence will show in this case, and what will become almost instantly clear, is that this is not a complicated case. The evidence will show that the events in this case were captured on surveillance video. I'm going to start this whole presentation out by playing the video for you. So you will have that frame of reference as we're talking about different features, the people that were involved, the locations that are involved, and what happened. You will already have seen the video. The first video that I'm going to show you was captured on November 6th of 2021 at around 10:10 p.m. just outside of a parking garage entrance. mid-block, so on Argyle, in the middle of Argyle, between Hollywood Boulevard and Selma. The second video that I'm going to show you was captured 7 minutes later, so at 10:17. It was, if we're being generous, 2 blocks, maybe 1 city block away from the first location, down Argyle, around Selma, at a small intersection called Selma and Vista Del Mar. So I'm going to play the first video for you, that outside of the parking lot.
That's a fact, late night. Hey, Graves would have took that knuckle right off. That not them little ass scratches they tried to show.
Now I'm going to move to the second location, that at Vista Del Mar and Selma, and I'm going to pre-warn you, it's a little small, it's at a distance, so you're going to want to focus your attention at the top left-hand corner.
Dang, can y'all see any of that? Let me try to blow that up for y'all, because that shit's so little. I did hear a couple gunshots, though. But you can't tell who's shooting, or even if it was a shot, you can't even tell. My bad, family. I'm going to just blow it up a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Here we go. Full screen. All right. Grab this screen. Boom. All right, let me blow it up for y'all so we can see, because that shit's so little. Look like ants fighting. Here we go.
All right, now let's go over the details. As I said, the people that are involved, the location, and I'll give you an explanation of what you've seen on these 2 videos. This case takes place in the heart of Hollywood. This is the iconic Hollywood and Vine. The picture you see here is just a demonstrative picture of that intersection, but it's an iconic intersection in Hollywood. That intersection is about 1 block 1 block west and 1 block north of the crime scene. So for those of you who are familiar with Hollywood and that intersection, it's a pretty big landmark.
I got the mute off, but what the hell is this? Why the hell they put this picture in there? This AI generated photo.
And that's where I want to focus your attention. Now, the actual shooting in this case takes place on a much smaller street, Selma and Vista Del Mar. But this is the area around where that shooting took place. It is a very densely populated part of Hollywood, and there are some landmarks on there that you might be familiar with, just so that you can familiarize yourself with the location that we're talking about. The Capitol Records building at the top, the W Hotel, and Hollywood Boulevard. The shooting, as you've seen, occurred just outside of a parking lot on that corner of Vista, Del Mar, and Selma. That was a parking lot at the time that was full of cars. And it was ringed by a nightclub on the corner, a sound studio, a hotel, and 3 different apartment buildings right around. As I said, densely populated. This was also Saturday night. Saturday, November 6, 2021, at about 10 p.m. in Hollywood. This is a time that Hollywood is busy. Now that you understand kind of the locations that are involved, I want to start with how this case starts for LAPD.
Hi, I live in the apartment on the corner of Argyle and Selma in Hollywood, and there's just been a shooting.
So at 10:18 p.m., LAPD receives this call.
That should sound like AI too. What is this, an AI investigation now?
That there's been a shooting at the intersection of Argyle and Selma. The call continues though.
Did you see anything or you just heard it?
Yes. We watched it.
Okay, what did you see?
There were four men, and they were kind of fighting as they were walking along Argyle, and then they turned left onto Selma. We heard yelling, and they started running, and they turned left into the back lot apartments for El Centro Apartments.
Now, the four men that you see on that screen will be the four men that we'll talk about in a minute. They were the four that were at that location.
And then someone pulled out, the guy in the black sweatshirt pulled out a gun.
Okay.
And he shot, and I think the guy who shot was in blue.
Now, the evidence in this case will be that the man in the black sweatshirt was the defendant, Rakeem Myers. That evidence will be uncontradicted. As you have heard throughout jury selection, Mr. Myers is an entertainer, and he goes by the stage name ASAP Rocky. You will hear other nicknames that he is referred to in the evidence in this case, including Flacco and Luigi. At the time of this crime, Mr. Myers was 33 years old. He has his own company that I believe is referred to as AWGE, A-W-G-E, that you will hear referred to in the testimony in this case. And as we've talked about, his significant other is Rihanna. The victim in this case is a man by the name of Terrell Efron. And Mr. Efron, you will hear, was also a member of the ASAP collective, and he went by the nickname ASAP Relly. Mr. Efron was also 33 years old at the time of this crime. And what you will hear from Mr. Efron is that he was friends with Mr. Myers well before this case and well before even Mr. Myers was a famous individual. That essentially, I believe they met in high school and grew up together. He has known Mr. Myers 18 or 19 years at the time that this shooting happens. And you will also hear that he...
So this the one with the knuckle scrapes?
He, too, at the time, was working in the music industry, and he had his own company called Shut Eye Entertainment. Now, I mentioned it already, but to put a finer point on it, the group that both of these men were members of is called ASAP. It doesn't stand for what you probably thought it did when you walked into court. It's an acronym for Always Strive and Prosper. It was formed by high school age kids in Harlem, New York around 2006. They call themselves a collective. You will hear are rappers, producers, music video directors, designers, people that have different artistic pursuits that essentially work together. And there are many members of ASAP. The ones that you will primarily hear in this case are obviously Mr. Myers, the victim, but also the two friends that were with Mr. Myers at the time this happened. And they go by ASAP Ills and ASAP 12E. And I will just pre-warn you that 12E gets spelled a bunch of different ways. It's not always consistent. And there will be one last member that you'll hear about briefly, who goes by the stage name ASAP Bari. Sometimes people refer to him as Young Lord. As I said, the four main members of this group that you will hear about are these four men. The victim is on the far right, Mr. Efron. The defendant is the next person to his left. As I said, ASAP 12E, his given name is Jamel Phillips, and the last is Elijah Ulanger, who goes by ASAP Ills. And these were the four men who were present at the time of both of these incidents. Now, I want to take you to that weekend, Saturday night in Hollywood. There was actually, at the time, a music festival or concert series going on known as Complex Con in Long Beach. And you will hear that Mr. Myers was to be a performer at that event the day after the shooting, was Sunday, November 7th. Now, although I told you that Mr. Mayers and Mr. Efron were close at one point, you will hear that throughout their relationship there was tension between the two of them. And that tension was essentially building up to the night of November 6th, 2021. You will not hear all the reasons why there was tension between the two of them, but we will get to the point the day before this shooting, November 5th, 2021, when that tension kind of comes to a head. But what happens on that day, Mr. Efron will tell you, is that he is in a car with that last member of the ASAP group that I talked about, ASAP Bari. The two of them are driving when ASAP Bari receives a phone call from Mr. Mayers. And ASAP Bari takes that call on speakerphone, so Mr. Efron, who's in the car, can hear both sides of the conversation. He can hear Mr. Mayers, and he can also hear ASAP Bari. And in the course of that call, Mr. Efron, the victim, heard the defendant saying these rude and aggressive things about him. Mr. Mayers at the time does not know that Mr. Efron is in the car with the victim. This leads to the next day, November 6, 2021. You'll hear that Mr. Efron was in Los Angeles working with one of the artists that he managed. He was asleep around 9:00 p.m. when he started receiving a series of urgent messages from not only from Mr. Mayers, but from the two other men that were with him, ASAP Ills and ASAP 12. And you'll hear that he received a number of calls kind of back to back to back from the three of them. Now, he didn't answer those calls because he was sleeping, but when he ultimately woke up, he saw that he had a number of missed calls. He also received text messages from Mr. Mayers that were aggressive, seeking a confrontation with him, asking him where he was. Mr. Mayers is on the left side of this conversation. Where are you at? Let's get to it. Stop ducking my calls. The messages that the victim's receiving are instantly aggressive towards him. So you will hear from Mr. Efron that he called the defendant. He was groggy because he had just woken up. They had a conversation and they agreed to meet outside of the W Hotel in Hollywood. Mr. Efron will tell you that as he went to that meeting, he was of the frame of mind that he and Mr. Mayers were going to have a confrontation. That he believed they would argue, and that ultimately this would lead to kind of repairing their relationship. So they would each be able to speak their piece and essentially fight like brothers do, and that it would ultimately bring them closer together. They would repair sort of the issues that they each had with each other. So that's how Mr. Efron is going into this meeting. Now, let's talk about the location where they meet, this location just outside of the W Hotel. You're going to see this map throughout this case. So I want to take some time to walk through it with you so you understand the various features that are depicted here. On the left side of the screen is Argyle Avenue. On the bottom of the screen is Selma Avenue. And on the right side of the screen is El Centro Avenue. Now you can't see it in this map, but if the map were to continue off the top of the screen, Hollywood Boulevard would be just above that. In the middle of this map, there's a small street called Vista Del Mar that kind of goes north and then forces you to go east. The red arrows that you see here are the path of travel that Mr. Mayers took that evening. So it starts at that mid-block location on Argyle, continues down to Selma, and then up Vista Del Mar, around that corner, all the way to El Centro, and then he made a left turn on El Centro and went above, off the map. The numbers in the red boxes that you see here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are the 4 different locations where the police were ultimately able to recover surveillance video from. There are 4 different locations. Attached to each one of those locations, you'll see the green triangle and the green, with a green arrow in the middle. And what that represents is very roughly, this is not meant to be, exact, but very roughly the direction that a camera attached to that building was facing. You will also hear that locations 1, 2, and 4 captured video only. But you will hear that the location with the number 3 captured both video and audio. So I told you there's 2 incident locations, 2 altercations that happened. The first happens where the yellow box is right now, right outside of that parking garage. The second happens at that corner of Selma and Vista Del Mar. And that's where the firearm was actually discharged, where the gunshots were fired. So the first location I want to focus on is that where the initial confrontation happens. This location is the entrance and exit of a parking structure. This is that parking structure entrance if you were standing in Argyle and you were facing towards Selma. So Hollywood Boulevard would be to your back. And the entrance is on the left-hand side there. And what you will see in the videos, this parking lot entrance has those hanging indicators on from the roof that tell you how tall the garage is, so that if you are driving a tall car, you don't, of course there's a fly buzzing around me, you don't run your car into the roof of the parking structure. And I point that out because when you watch the video, you'll actually see that red indicator as a kind of a line through the video, so you know what that is. At the mouth of that parking entrance, there are cameras that are facing the sidewalk. Those are the first view that we saw. And
I'm over here wondering, like, shouldn't it be like way more cameras? Why he only got 4 cameras that can view? Like, this is Hollywood. I'm sure it's cameras all over there. Like, I don't know. They should have more views, don't y'all think?
And these cameras capture the initial encounter.
And what up, Sapphire Ridge News? I see you, family. Appreciate you.
Between the victim, Mr. Efron, who you see there, and the defendant, Mr. Mayers. And you can see that Ills is the first one to intervene to try to separate the 2 of them. And then at the very bottom of the screen, you see 12E putting his hand to try to also intervene and help separate them. Now I know it goes by quickly, and you're not as familiar with all these people, so I want to kind of break it
They in Hollywood. How you know they wasn't shooting a music video?
down a little bit for you and show you what the evidence that you're going to receive throughout this case. The first person that you see in that video is the victim, Mr. Efron. The second person who you see, who is instantly confrontational with Mr. Efron, is the defendant, Mr. Mayers. You see on the video that Mr. Mayers is immediately aggressive towards Mr. Efron. He's pulling at Mr. Efron's sweatshirt, and he's pushing Mr. Efron backward and pushes him off camera, out of camera view. The third person that you see, as I told you, is Elijah Ulanger, who also goes by ASAP Ills, or he might just be referred to as Ills throughout this. If you look closely, you can actually see his stage name embroidered on the jacket that he's wearing there. And what he attempts to do is to de-escalate this situation, to get between the two men and to physically separate them. And you'll see that all three of them go off screen for a period of time. Mr. Efron will tell you that during the period of time that they are off screen is when the defendant first produces that semi-automatic pistol from his waistband. He pulls it out of his waistband and he's holding it to Mr. Efron. Mr. Efron will tell you that the defendant pointed the gun at his chest and was essentially trying to point the gun around Ills, who was between them. That at the time that he was pointing the gun at Mr. Efron, he was also threatening Mr. Efron. I'm going to kill you. Keep in mind, these men have known each other for a long time. And Mr. Efron will tell you, in his state of mind, he never believed that he was going to be shot. He never believed that the defendant would actually shoot him.
But was he ever actually shot? Hey, I'm going to have to grab a screenshot of them knuckles or pull it up on another page, because do you remember seeing them damn knuckles? Talk about the defendant was actually shot. This part of your opening arguments with them scraped up knuckles? What up, Chada Scottum? I see you, family. Appreciate you joining.
He will tell you that had this been a stranger, someone he didn't know as well, he would have been petrified. As you can imagine, anyone pointing a gun at you would upset you. But he knows the defendant. He knows that Mr. Mayers is not going to shoot him. He knows so much so that he'll tell you he looked at the defendant and said, if you brought a gun, you should shoot it. That's how confident he is that he knows the defendant is not going to pull that trigger. Now, the fourth person you can barely see on this video as they come back into frame, I told you, is Jamel Phillips, who goes by 12E or ASAP 12. And you can just see his hand at the very bottom of the screen. When they come back on screen, and specifically when Mr. Mayers comes back on screen, you can see the gun in his hand. You will hear that that gun that he's holding is a semi-automatic pistol, or has features that are consistent with a semi-automatic pistol. Right now, as it's paused on the screen, you can see that he's holding that gun behind his back. But you will also see the gun come forward in front of his body before he ultimately tucks it back into his waistband. And you will see from the video that there were bystanders. As I said, this is a busy Saturday night in Hollywood, walking by as this confrontation is taking place.
Yeah, it's very busy, as we can see by them two sets of legs down there. If you don't knock that off, talking about it was very busy. Hey, and how, if they was getting into all this and he had the gun and pulled the gun in front of him right then how did they get to a whole other area? Like, why are they still in a confrontation? Why would you not get up out of there? Like, he got a gun, let me go. Why are you still antagonizing these people? Oh no.
You will hear that right after that encounter that you saw, that Mr. Mayers walked away and was walking down Argyle towards Selma. Mr. Efron will tell you that as he walked away, he looked over at 12E, Mr. Phillips, and he saw 12E putting a pocket knife away. And Mr. Efron, and then 12E, Mr. Phillips, walked behind the defendant, Mr. Mayers, and Ills walked behind him as well. So the three men that had come to confront Mr. Efron walked away down Argyle towards Selma. And Mr. Efron will tell you that at that moment, his mindset about the initial confrontation changed. I told you that Mr. Efron will tell you when he first went there, he believed that this was meant to be a confrontation so that they could strengthen their relationship. But having just had a gun pointed at him and seeing another friend putting away a pocket knife, that his mindset changed and he understood these men never came here to try to make peace with him. That it was always meant to be a confrontation. And he decided at that moment that having a gun pointed at him was sort of a bridge too far in their friendship. And he understood he was probably never going to have the same friendship, especially with the defendant, ever again. And you will hear that as the defendant walked away, Mr. Efron followed behind him and was yelling and screaming at him, even though he knew the defendant had a gun. Because although Mr. Efron believed this is going to damage our relationship, he still never believed that the defendant would actually shoot at him. It's not as if Mr. Efron will tell you that he had some death wish or that he was not scared of guns. He will not come in and say that. What he will tell you, again, is that had anyone else done this, he would have been frightened. But he had known the defendant for so long, and they were close. So he walks down Argyle towards Selma and follows behind the three other men. When they get to Selma, they all turn left, and they walk towards Vista Del Mar. And they end up at that location we've talked about, that corner of Selma and Vista Del Mar. And as Mr. Mayers stepped off the curb, he walked into frame of the camera at location number 2 that's pointing towards Selma. Now I want to take you, before I play the video again, I want to take you to that corner so that you can see from that night what it looked like. It's a small street with a parking lot immediately adjacent to it that were full of parked cars. And at 10:17 p.m. when they arrived at that intersection and the defendant stepped off the street corner into view of camera number 2, you will see video from that location. The video that I've played for you already and that I'm going to play for you again is from that location number 2. You will also see, that's the main video that you're watching, but you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a smaller video on top of it that kind of has a bluish tint to it. And that video is from another location behind building number 2 where the number 3 is. And the video that you're seeing from that location is identified there by the green arrow. But what's important about that video, because the video does not capture the shooting at location number 3. What location number 3 captures is audio. And it captures the sound of the gun being fired twice. This is the location number 2 where the camera, the video that actually captured that shooting was. You can see the cameras at the very top corner of the building, and it's about 3 properties away from the location that we're seeing. So again, the video is captured at a distance. It's a admittedly grainy video. It's not the most clear that you could possibly have. But it captures enough features that you can identify who is who when you watch this video. So I told you the main video that you're watching is from location number 2, and that smaller location number 3 is in the corner. Before I play the video, I want to orient you to what you're seeing. Along the top is Vista Del Mar. The parking lot is just out of view of the camera at the top of the screen. Along the top left-hand corner is Selma, forms that intersection. The red arrow is the defendant, Mr. Mayers. And the green arrow is the victim, Mr. Efron. Now, what you see as the video plays is the
Was nothing. We didn't see nothing in that video but a couple people like shadow figures running around.
various cameras on location number 2 switching between 3 different cameras that are mounted to that building. What's important about that, towards the end of the video, you'll see as Mr. Mayers is running away from the location, running down Vista Del Mar towards El Centro, he trips a floodlight that's motion activated, and when you watch the video closely, that floodlight is captured by both locations. So location number 2 and location number 3, those cameras each capture that floodlight turning on. And when you watch the videos together, you can see that moment in time when the lights flash on, line up. And that's how you know the sound correlates with the video that you're seeing playing at the same time from a different location. Now, I told you, we all know the video from location number 2 is from a distance. If you zoom in on the area where this incident happened, and we will play a zoomed in version of this video, what you see is a very pixelated image. But what even that captures still are the colors the individuals are wearing, which is how you can distinguish who is who on the video. You'll see Mr. Efron on the far left. Ills is just next to him. 12.
What the hell is you supposed to see in this picture? What? What up, Wilma? I see you, family. Appreciate you. Welcome back. Welcome back. What are you supposed to see with these 3 little dots up here? That's crazy.
Elvie, who's wearing the red jacket, is just next to Ills, and then the defendant, who's wearing all black, is at the bottom of the screen. Again, I understand if you watch this video one time, you may not pick up these features, but as you watch it repeatedly, you'll be able to tell who is who. And you'll also be able to tell when you watch these videos in sequence, because they walk in front of other cameras that are far more clear, that you can easily identify who is who on this video. So this is the zoomed in version of that incident. This does not have any audio.
There go the knuckle mark. You seen it? Hold on. There it go. We found it. We found where he scraped his knuckles at. There it go right there. That's where he got the knuckle scrape. This is what he really suing them for. Right here. Heck nah.
Now, as we play the zoomed in version, you'll also see that Mr. Efron is struggling with Ills. And what Mr. Efron will tell you is that immediately as the defendant turned and pointed the gun at him, he jumped behind Ills, essentially to put Ills between him and the defendant. And you'll see on the video the defendant lunging one way and then the other way around Ills, trying to get at the victim, who is holding Ills in front of him. Now, despite how dangerous this is, having a semi-automatic pistol pointed at you and discharged twice, you will hear that Mr. Efron was not seriously injured by this shooting. He has these injuries to the middle knuckle.
Oh, we got fresh pictures. We didn't see the fresh pictures. That still ain't no doggone bullet. Hold on, let me. Well, no, I don't want to zoom in.
Of one of his hands.
I don't want nobody getting no blood.
Mr. Efron will tell you that at the time
blood triggers.
the shooting was happening, he immediately felt a burning sensation to his hand, which led him to believe that these were graze wounds from one of the bullets that was shot at him. Perhaps they were. Perhaps they were not. Whether or not the victim in this case was actually shot or injured by this will not be something that you have to decide at the end of the case. We ask you to wait until the end of the case when the judge instructs you on the law, what elements are actually required to be proven before you make any decision. And to listen to the charges specifically and not consider charges that the defendant is not charged with. In this case, he's not charged with attempted murder, for instance. Now, before I move on, I want to focus in on the last location that I haven't talked about much, location number 4. That location is a loading dock for this building on El Centro. It's right at the corner.
How you gonna shoot at somebody and then they not charging them with attempted murder? That's how you know it's some BS.
Corner of El Centro and Vista Del Mar. And what you'll see in the video from that location is the defendant, Mr. Mayers, and his companion, 12E, walking from Vista Del Mar up El Centro towards Hollywood Boulevard. The arrows indicate their path of travel. They're going to come from that corner and then walk up El Centro. The camera itself is in that red circle. And you'll see this video is far more clear. And you'll see features of their clothing that you can match up to the clothing from the other videos that we've already watched. For instance, I mean, you can see just from Mr. Mayer's facial features that he's the one wearing all black. You can see from his facial features compared to the video from the parking structure. And then, as I said, the various features of his clothing, the rhinestones on the hood of his sweatshirt in both videos, and the design, the rhinestone design on the chest of his sweatshirt at both videos. And taking all the videos in their totality and comparing them is how you'll be able to decide on the video who is who. Now, I played the 911 call for you that LAPD received at 10:18, which triggered their response. And you'll see and hear that at 10:27, LAPD officers responded to the 911 call, and as is their duty, they responded quickly to this call to try to of shots fired in the middle of Hollywood. You will hear from at least one of the officers who responded to that location, and the officer will tell you that as part of their uniform, they wear cameras that are mounted to their chest, and you will actually get to watch camera that captures the police response. After this shooting, the evidence will be that all 4 of these men, the defendant, 12E, Ills, and the victim, all left the scene. You'll hear that there were at least 2 people who called 911 to report this crime who were just people living in the surrounding area, not actually involved in the altercation itself. You'll hear that the 911 callers were reporting different information. So
Reporting different information. Keep that in mind. Shout out to Chot Diggy real quick. Appreciate you, family. I know you was over there rocking with SS. Shout out to SS. Y'all go sub up. She covering some good stuff right now. Appreciate y'all, family. Much love, much love. Shout out to Survivor Speak. Shout out to Chot Diggy. Appreciate y'all. Let's get it.
the first call would be that the gunshots were fired at Argyle and Selma. The second call would be that the gunshots were fired in the area closer to Vista Del Mar and El Centro. You will hear from the officer that as they responded, they come to the scene looking for a victim. That's their primary focus. Trying to find anyone who needs immediate life-saving attention. Their second focus will be looking for the potential suspects if they can find them. And you'll hear from the officer that as he's receiving information that's taking him to different locations, he's actually going between the different locations and trying to piece together what happened. But what will be important from his testimony is that he is not given a precise location to exactly where this shooting happened. And with the limited information that he has, he and his partners are doing the best job that they can to find any victims, any suspects, or any evidence of a shooting. You'll hear the officer talk to different people who were just out and about, try to figure out what was going on, that neither of the 911 callers would meet with them, and that they searched not only the surrounding streets, but they primarily focused on the parking lot that was right at that corner of Vista Del Mar and Selma, because the second 911 caller had told him, or had relayed that it was possible that the shooting was happening into a car. The officer will tell you that they searched the area and they did not find any evidence of a shooting. They didn't find a victim with injuries, they didn't find any of the suspects, and they didn't find any discharged cartridge cases, which are what come out of a gun after you discharge it in the surrounding area. But again, they don't know exactly where to look with the limited information that they're given. You will also hear from Mr. Efron that approximately an hour, and he's not precise on the exact time, but approximately an hour after the shooting, he himself returned to the location. Now at this time, the police have already responded and left. Mr. Efron will tell you that he and his girlfriend went there specifically to look for evidence that this had happened, evidence of this shooting. And Mr. Efron will tell you.
All right, pay attention right here. So this is where he explaining, I guess, that the cops couldn't find no police shell casings or none of that, but he went back and got them himself, and he went back and found them himself, allegedly.
Because he knew exactly where the shooting happened, that he was able to locate 2 fired cartridge cases. And this is actually a photograph that Mr. Efron himself took of one of the fired cartridge cases that he found. Mr. Efron, you'll hear, went to the police 2 days later, walked into the Hollywood police station to report this crime happening. He brought the 2 fired cartridge cases with him, and he gave them to the police. You will hear that the 2 cartridge cases that he brought in were 9mm Luger caliber cartridge cases.
So for those of you who don't know, he allegedly shot his best friend or something like that. They got into a confrontation. That's what the video was earlier, them fighting. But yeah, let's get into it.
However, you will also hear from Mr. Efron that immediately after the shooting, about an hour and a half later, he started text messaging the defendant. And he text messaged the defendant, "You try killing me." That was the first message he sent to him. And you'll hear that Mr. Mayer's response was to deny that anything happened. The defendant, in abbreviation, says, "What is you talking about? Why are you telling people I shot at you?" Denying that any shooting has even happened. Mr. Efron confronts him again. "You set me up to try to take me from my daughter." And the defendant responds, "I tried to do what? I know you hate me, I hate you too." The defendant responds again, "Stop making shit up." Again, denying any confrontation took place. Certainly any shooting. We have already told you in jury selection, and you will hear evidence, that after this shooting, Mr. Efron sought money from Mr. Mayers. In fact, right, hours after the shooting, so this is the next day, November 7th, in the early morning hours, 3:40 a.m., you'll hear that Mr. Efron sent a message to one of his friends saying that he wants money. And identifying the reason why he wants that money is because Mr. Mayers shot at him. You will also hear that based upon these two incidents, the parking lot and the shooting on the corner, that Mr. Efron filed a civil lawsuit against Mr. Mayers. At the end of this case, you will not be asked to award Mr. Efron any money. So that consideration will not be a part of your what you're asked to determine. Moving forward in time, you'll hear from LAPD detectives that Mr. Mayer's home was searched on April 20th of 2022, and that during that search, LAPD detective recovered a magazine for a semi-automatic pistol that was 9mm caliber, and that it was loaded with 6 unfired 9mm Luger rounds of live ammunition. You will hear that these items were found in Mr. Mayer's bedroom closet. You will also hear that there was no handgun that was 9mm in Mr. Mayer's home that was for that magazine. So you have a 9mm magazine, but no handgun to go with it. The last point I want to leave you with before I conclude is that we expect, in this case, that the defense will call 12B, Mr. Phillips, to testify. At the time of the shooting, again, he's friends with all these participants. He's 32 years old. And it is expected that he will testify that the defendant was in fact the person on the video who fired the 2 gunshots that we hear. So it will essentially be uncontested that Mr. Mayers was the person who fired the gun at that street corner, and that he will tell you the gun that the defendant fired was a starter pistol. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what the evidence in this case will show at the end of this case.
Yeah, I guess we gonna see. What up, Tammy Lewis? I see you, family. Appreciate you joining Grand Risings.
As I've said, we expect that the defense will attempt to present an alternative explanation for what happened that night. But we ask you to do one thing, which is, as you evaluate the evidence from both sides in this case, to not leave your common sense at the door. And wait until the end of the case, when you have all the evidence, to make your decision. Listen to the court's instructions on the law, and return the only just verdict. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll take the break now. Please be outside the courtroom doors at 1:30, as close to that time as possible. We'll have you come in, and you will hear from Mr. Pacquina. Are you going to do the all right, please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or anybody else. Please do not go on the internet and read anything about this case, and please don't look at any newspapers. You've got to keep that mind open and impartial and objective.
Yeah, family. That's mostly it for that part of it. We still got a little bit to go, though. Appreciate y'all being here, family. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, tap in. This is the day his house got raided. But he got picked up from the airport, so they went and raided his house separately. Appreciate y'all being here, family. Let's see. Oh, hold on. I ain't got the sound on, do I?
You guys find any weapons or anything, sir? Not a good 420. Okay. All right, guys. Clear? Yep. How'd it go? Okay. All right, guys. Yeah. You guys find any weapons or anything, sir? Not a good 420, huh? Pretty separate.
Hip hop superstar ASAP Rocky is facing charges in connection with a shooting in Hollywood. The rapper, whose real name is Rakim Mayers, is being charged with 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. The shooting unfolded in November of 2021 near Selma and Argyle Avenues. Prosecutors say Mayers pointed a gun at a former friend during an argument and fired twice. The victim suffered a graze wound to his left hand. Mayers is scheduled to be arraigned Wednesday.
All right, real quick, family. We was about to drop it at 3:30, but it looks like since they on break, I'm gonna go ahead and drop it early at 3 o'clock. So I'm gonna set that time up, and we about to drop the new track. Y'all tap in, family. Appreciate y'all being there. I hope everybody is here, and we gonna get into it, family. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna let this play while I get everything set up. Much love, much love.
All right.
So we told her she wants to stand by with that. That way the tank will close the bar. Alright. She knows that she'll go move. Okay. Thank you.
3.
I'm
I'm an attorney, but I can't speak right now.
You can't speak right now.
No.
Will ASAP be bailing out? Bailing out then?
Unfortunately, I can't make a comment, but feel free to contact our office and maybe Alan Jackson can make a comment for you.
Right. ASAP's innocent, though, would you say? What did they find in the grave? Did they find anything?
I'm so sorry, I can't make any comment about it.
Right.
Feel free to contact us. As soon as I'm able to speak about it, I'm happy to, but I just can't right now.
Let me ask you this: do you feel better after the raid?
I'm not making any comments. I'm so sorry. I wish I could, but I can't.
Any message to Rihanna? It's got to be a little stressful.
Unfortunately, I cannot make any comment about this. I really, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No,
I
it's
just
fine.
can't.
No, you're very sweet. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care.
All right, now let's go over the details. As I said, the people that are involved, the location, and I'll give you an explanation of what you've seen on these two videos. This case takes place in the heart of Hollywood. This is the iconic Hollywood and Vine. The picture you see here is just a demonstrative.
That fake picture. All right, hold on. I ain't gonna drop it yet because everybody not here, so I might not do that yet. We might do that at 3:30. Let me see. We got something else we can roll with though. Let's see. This right here is what I'm looking for. Oh no, this
one. And the people are represented by Mr. Engel. First and foremost, before we proceed further, I have you.
Chasing down my goals, I self-law am master, supernatural disaster, metaphysical reactions. I am the flesh.
First request from the media.